Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Michael's Matters. And this month, October, millions of Americans across the country are going to have to start paying a bill that they had had on hold for the last couple of years, primarily as a result of the pandemic, which is their student loans. Now, traditionally, when you think of folks with student loans, you think of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed 20-somethings, 30-somethings, yes, even 40-somethings. Maybe those folks who had postgraduate loans. But one group that often gets overlooked is older Americans and seniors who still have student loans. And although they are less by numbers, there was about 114,000 retirees in 2016 who had their Social Security benefits garnished as a result of failing or falling behind on their student loan payments. And that number has only magnified over the last 8 years or so. So today we are talking about some new legislation that has been reintroduced to help ensure that seniors and older Americans across the country have protections over their Social Security benefits as the student loan moratorium gets lifted, and everybody, including yours truly, has to start paying those student loans back. Now, this is Michael's Matters, and before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, or hey, if you at least find them useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. But also because you get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. All right, now, let's get down to the video. So just a real quick recent history lesson in 2020 when it became apparent that the world was going to be at a standstill because of the outbreak of the pandemic. And then President Donald Trump had implemented a pause on all student loans, as well as any interest accrual on those student loans. This was meant to put money back into the pockets of folks who may be underemployed or unemployed for an undeterminable amount of time while the entire economy was shut down and then eventually restarted. Sort of like when your computer freezes up, you get that blue screen of death and you just have to unplug it and then replug it back in. And now, 3 years later, with the pandemic seemingly in the rear view mirror, hopefully, and against President Biden's really best efforts, which we will not get into here, payments are going to restart this month, and interest started back up last month in September for student loans. This means that approximately 40 million former students who have loans will have to start paying them back, which is a big, hairy deal, because over the last 3 years, the average borrower pocketed an additional $15,000 in additional cash, which explains why the economy has continued along at a phenomenal clip and why everyone you know happens to be in Italy this year. Oh, also, it may sort of kind of contribute to the massive inflation we're feeling as well. But that all is coming to an end, and despite some sort of convoluted student loan relief plan by President Biden, people will have to start paying those loan backs, including some folks who are now or will shortly be on Social Security. This also means that there will be, and it's not nothing, if we take the numbers from 2016, but it means there will be some older seniors who are barely making ends meet right now with the student loan pause, but now with the retirement benefits and Social Security, who are not able to pay back their student loans, which could put them in a position, and will put some in a position, that they could get their Social Security benefits garnished to force them to pay back their student loans, which really is one of the worst possible situations you could be in during retirement. And the amount is going to be a reasonable amount, right? It's not going to be nothing. It's going to be something that is going to put a hit on someone's budget, especially for those folks who are right on the margin from making it and not making it. Based on the information from 2019 from the Center for Retirement Research Group out of Boston College, they estimate that on average around $2,500 annually will be garnished from Social Security beneficiaries who are behind on their student loans. When we consider right now what the average retired Social Security benefits is at $1,840.27 on average as of August 2023, that's the most recent one that we have, or $22,083 a year, a deduction of $2,500 would amount to about 11% of those total benefits that would be garnished for student loan repayment. And that is a lot. I mean, that's a lot. This is made worse by the fact that younger retirees tend to have much larger student loan balances than older retirees, which will mean that over the next couple of years, as more and more of the younger cohorts of retirees hit their retirement age, a larger portion of their benefits could end up being garnished. Luckily, there are some limits to how much Social Security can garnish from retirement benefits for student loans, and is generally capped at 15% of the total monthly benefit, or $750 per month, whichever is less. But again, 15% of the average Social Security benefit right now would put that limit at $276 a month, or $3,312 a year. Whew, sheesh. So even though older Americans do make up a smaller portion of folks who have to pay back student loans, at the moment there are about 2.7 million Americans who are over the age of 62 years old, and also in totality owe $107.3 billion back of student loans as of September 2023. Luckily, at the moment, there are some folks in Congress who are attempting to reintroduce legislation that would put some protections on Social Security benefits, at least in regards to being protected from student loan garnishment. The bill is actually being reintroduced, and it is entitled the aptly Protection of Social Security Benefits Restoration Act. And in short, the bill would bring back protections under federal legislation to Social Security benefits that would prevent the feds from garnishing the repayment of all non-tax federal debt. So they can still garnish your tax debts. Congressman John B. Larson, one of the authors of the bill, said Social Security is an earned benefit Americans have paid into their entire working lives, and garnishing these already modest benefits to recover student loan debts hurts the ability to retire with dignity. End quote. Obviously, these protections are going to be necessary to help protect low-income or even modest-income seniors from not being able to support themselves with reduced garnished Social Security benefits. And there still is some hope that some of President Biden's efforts to have limited forgiveness, as well as protections that would limit how much a person would have to repay to just 5% of their discretionary income, which of course would be considered better than 15%, there are hope that those things are going to come through. But given the age of some of our older student loan payer back folks, well, there is definitely going to be a consideration about just exactly how long it would take at a 5% of discretionary income, however that is defined, how long it's going to take for those folks to pay back those loans, and whether they'll even make it to a point where they'll be able to pay all of it back. So overall, thinking about the situation as a whole, it really is an unfortunate situation to be in. I guess that's the long and the short way of saying it. I think part of it is that our society is very enthusiastic about education, especially at the college level. And of course, I think that's good. But the enthusiasm needs to be, I think, more directed. By that I mean, we get encouraged to get educated, and there's access to loans for it. But because the loans are backed up by the federal government, there's no discretion in the loan makers as to whether or not the loan is likely to ever be paid back, or whether or not they should even make a loan like this. Like if you try to get a car or if you try to get a house, and they look at your personal information and decide if you can qualify for that loan or not based off whether you'll likely be able to pay that back. But there is none of that in education. And basically, if you want to get a PhD in children's literature in the language of Esperanto, that is given the same value as far as the loan goes, potentially, as somebody who's doing petrol engineering. And we all know in general, they are not the same. So you get folks who have very interesting degrees, and there may be some use to them, but they may not be lucrative enough to pay back those costs that it costs to get those degrees. So that is the longest possible way of saying, yes, folks who have a hard time paying back their student loans should be helped, but there's got to be some sort of arrangement that can be made to try to figure out whether making a loan to get educated in a degree that really has a very limited value monetarily, if that loan should even be made, because, or if there needs to be a higher premium or a shorter amount or a smaller amount to be put into it. And we end up in a situation where either they are paying them back in perpetuity, or they get reduced by the government, and we all end up paying them back, and that doesn't seem fair as well. All right, so that's it for today's Michael's Matters, and I really hope that you liked this video, or at least found it interesting or helpful, or maybe even useful. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. But also because you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael, hoping that you take care of yourselves, take care of others, and have a happy, healthy